Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Welcome to His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj's daily online discourses. Thank you all for joining. And today's class will be a continuation of hopefully the first canto, chapter 11, verse 23 onwards, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo. Praise to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vayam cha Gurubhir Yutrai Sadharastarunai Api Asvabhir Yujamano Nyonyaya Vandibhischa Visaturam. Translation. Then the Lord personally entered the city accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives, all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praised the glories of the Lord. The brahmanas in society were never attentive to banking money for future retired life. When they were old invalids, they used to approach with their wives the assembly of the kings, and simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, they would be provided with all necessities of life. Such brahmanas were not, so to speak, flatterers of the kings, but the kings were actually glorified by their actions, and they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such brahmanas in a dignified way. Lord Shri Krishna is worthy of all glories, and the praying Brahmins and others were glorified themselves by chanting the glories of the Lord. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padatikam Vandeham Shiguro Shiyuta Padekamalam Shigurun Vaishcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganath Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopaisha Gopika Kantas Gopan Radha Kantas Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavana Esuri Rikavanu Suti Devi Anamami Hari Priya Vanchak Hitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Vimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavari Vastyapya De Satarine. So we're seeing the relationship between the different types of living entities in an ideal Brahminical culture. The Brahmins were living a life according to their varna. That is, they provided spiritual and also material guidance to the kings. kings would supply the necessities of life, or people in general would give them charitable gifts. But here, since now when they were old and invalid, more needy, they would simply go to the king, glorify the king. That's glorification here, as it's mentioned, it's mentioned speak flattery in order to get something, because the kings were actually glorified. Those who were rejoicing. Nowadays, we don't know what a rejoicing is. We don't even know what a logic is, what the people of rejoicing. Because nowadays, what we have is people who eat, lie, and plan how to get big positions in society, so they can fulfill their material desires.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry to interject. Your voice is breaking up and very muffled. Maharaj.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Maharaj, this is better.
Okay, I just have to speak louder. That's all. The kings nowadays, or the rulers nowadays, are not qualified to rule because they don't provide anything to people. He says in the Bhagavatam, the ruling class will just tax the citizens to such an extent that the citizens will no longer be able to live in their particular situation, and they will leave their home and actually go to a more secluded area of life just to exist. This is the effects of Kali Yuga. These are, here we're seeing more of an ideal situation. The Brahmins, they give advice. It says in true Brahminical society, they would do three things. They would give spiritual guidance. This is to people in general. They would give medical advice. And also, they would give astrological advice or predictions based on the horoscope. These three things they provided for people in general, and people live their lives based on the directions given by the Brahmins because they were qualified. Nowadays, we don't know what a Brahmin is. Of course, Prabhupada started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and he's teaching Brahminical culture to those who come. And so we have a class of Brahmins who are somewhat separate from society, and that say they just work within the confines of their religious institution. But still, they provide a service, and that is spiritual guidance. Of course, that guidance is available for everyone. The people nowadays don't want spiritual guidance, and if they do, they want it with some material benefit along with it. Now, this is Kali Yuga. So here it says in the Brahmins, they didn't have to engage in any kind of employment in order to have some money, because they were never attentive to banking money for future retired life. People do that now. They even have big plans that are done by different companies, and you can, put so much money into this. They use your money throughout, and then they, when you need it at the end, they don't give it to you anyway. It's just they come up with all rules that disqualifies you from getting your own money. So this is Kali Yuga. It's very quite degraded, and everybody is cheating like crazy. But in this society, there was dignity, there was culture, there was values, and glorification of the Lord went on in all areas of society. Not only the Brahmins, but the kings also would glorify the Lord. Everyone would glorify the Lord because everyone understood that the glorification of the Lord is the foundation for the progress that the living entity achieves in connection with the Lord. So here, and Prabhupada makes us say at the end, Lord Shri Krishna is worthy of all glories. And the Brahmins and others who glorified the Lord also were glorious themselves. That's also, just like the word kirtan comes from the etymological root word called kirti, which is sometimes given to a name as a name for a lady, kirti. Kirti means fame. And so when one glorifies the Lord, they are glorifying the all-famous Lord because he is already famous and spreading his glories even further for the benefit of others. It's called kirtan, or glorification of the Lord. But there's a second meaning, which is also connected with the whole activity, and that is those who actually perform kirtan also are glorious. So those who actually glorify the Lord, they become glorious themselves. Why? Because as soon as they glorify the Lord, they connect with the Lord. And by connecting with the Lord, they awaken their good qualities automatically. Or their good qualities manifest even greater through that glorification. And so there was a class of people in Vedic culture, they were called eulogizers. They would come together. You can read in one particular text, it's called Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami. And the whole book centers around these Madhukanta and let's see, can't remember his brother's name, starts with an S. Devakanta or something. These were professional eulogizers. They would, every night in the assembly, they would be there, and in Nanda Maharaj's courtyard, he would call all of the citizens together in the evening, and they would all meet together, and these eulogizers would come and glorify Krishna and speak so many wonderful things about the glories of the Lord. And they would also make predictions about the Lord's activities, and people would be absorbed hearing about the glories of the activity of the Lord and what the Lord was about to do. Somehow these eulogizers were great personalities. They weren't just performing that activity. They actually had deep spiritual qualities. So this is a culture, and we see even in our Krishna consciousness movement, when we greet each other, sometimes we greet each other by reminding the other person of their good qualities. We do that sometimes with devotees who are more advanced than us, but this is a culture that is not limited to only those who are more advanced. That a devotee likes to glorify another devotee or praise another devotee, speak about his good qualities or good qualities in such a way that others peoples will learn about that, and at the same time it develops a nice relationship. Of course, the person being glorified or being eulogized is not seeking that. They are just there and accepting it as the mercy of the Lord coming through that individual. That's not that they seek this glorification. If they do, then a certain pride starts to enter into their consciousness. And then that pride is a contamination over their good qualities. and then their good qualities become what we say covered by the principle of false pride. But devotees like to speak the glories of others because, of course, there is one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto where it says that one should not praise another, nor should one criticize another, because the material energy works in such a way as one cannot see the complete picture. And so praising and criticizing limits, it doesn't give you the understanding of the actual person in either case. But then again, there is an injunction, which is also mentioned in the following verse, where it says, don't praise or don't criticize, but at the same time, you can praise. In other words, it's the culture, and you'll see it here in a very dignified way. It was done to honor the great kings who have achieved such success in ruling the kingdom, and because they had followed the Brahmanas very carefully. In other words, they were guided, they accepted Brahminical guidance, not like some we see in the example of Ravana. Ravana had his Brahmins too, and they would also give him advice, but if he didn't like the advice, then he wouldn't take it. But for the sake of getting advice, he kept Brahmins there to see what they would say, and if he liked the advice, then he would take it. If he didn't like it, he wouldn't take it. But that's second class. A third class leader will not take any advice, and a first class leader will accept advice, whatever's given, and carry it out as his duty. So these are the principles by which culture and society actually grows, because this is not a small thing. In the Western societies, we cheaply sometimes just praise another person, but in here you'll see it's actually part of the elevation of the entire society. And it's done in a way to appreciate the good qualities of others. It's not like, well, I appreciate your good qualities and therefore I don't say anything. That means you really don't, that appreciation is very small, or it's not really there. When you speak about them, then of course, there are devotees who like to praise people all the time, and that should not be done, because it could be also seem to be just another form of wanting to be known as a good person because they praise others. It should be done genuinely and not based on some motivation. But and in Krishna consciousness, devotees have good qualities because they're engaged in devotional service. And that is, out of all of the good qualities that the devotees have, the fact that they are engaged in devotional service is their outstanding quality. So anyone who comes to Krishna consciousness is glorifiable because they have accepted Krishna and have rejected, at least theoretically, the desire to enjoy the material world. So that is worth. And when people glorify those who are glorifiable, then others get to know about those persons and take advantage of those persons' association and benefit from that. So there's many elements of this principle of glorification. And it also inspires the persons to, even those who are glorified, to even want to do better in their execution of their activities. Not simply, well, I got glorified, that's nice. But people are saying nice things about me, and I should try to, then that inspires that person to want to do more and want to do better. Like that. Just like many times we perform big ceremonies with seminar programs or kirtan programs. They go on for maybe a week or even 3 or 4 days. And then there's a lot of organization. There's a lot of hard work done in order to establish the whole program. So many times when this is done, and many times I've seen it, or I've been part of it, where we take a whole time out towards the end of the program to acknowledge the persons who actually worked very hard to make it happen. Yeah. Like that. So that mood is a mood of seva. That mood is a mood of culture. It's culture to glorify those who are glorifiable. Okay. And we see in the Western world, we have what is called mutual praising society. I've spoken to many people who have positions in political offices, and some of them who are devotees, they say that many of the important people, they get together and they have their parties and stuff, and they just start praising each other just to make each other feel good with that. And the reason why they do that is because there's nothing else. They just praise each other, mutual praising society, in order to look good, in order to inspire someone to do something for you. Oh, they praise that person, hoping to get something from that person because of the way they praise them or find it like that. But now we also see in Western society, it's very common to criticize people who are public figures using cartoons and various types of ways to demean another person. Perhaps the person doesn't have any good qualities and they're in a position of leadership. But people see that and use that as a way to kind of make that person look even worse. So we live in a very dysfunctional moral society. There's no culture. Culture centers around money. If you have money, you're important. If you have money, you can do things. If you have money, you can control things. And those who have money are considered to be advanced. But there's no such statement mentioned anywhere in the scriptures about those who are rich are considered to be, advanced. Advanced means those who are actually situated in their constitutional position as engaging in the loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are considered advanced because they have extricated themselves from the materialistic society, which is simply based on a hard struggle in order to enjoy something that doesn't belong to that person. Devotees realize that everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore everything should be used for Krishna's service. Where the non-devotees think everything is available for my enjoyment, and I just have to work hard and plan accordingly to get as much as I can in order to enjoy sense gratification. This is quite dysfunctional. And when people become very much enthusiastic, and it's already there to do these things, there's competition. And because of the competition, there's friction, and friction leads to anger, anger leads to um, various types of envy. And when envy develops, then there's conflict. So there's always conflict in materialistic society because everyone is trying to steal what doesn't belong to them, and that is the property of the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. And the living entity thinks that the more I can get, the more happy I will be. But you see here, the Brahmins in society, as it says in the first sentence, were never attentive to banking money. There's one story where one king engaged these Brahmins to perform a great sacrifice, and the sacrifice was very successful. And the king was quite wealthy. And there's actually two incidents. And the king bestowed innumerable amounts of wealth in the form of gold onto these kings, onto these Brahmanas. But the Brahmanas were thinking, what are we going to do with all this? It's too heavy to even carry. So they just left it. Later on, that wealth was found by Arjuna when Krishna explained them when they needed money for the Rajasuya sacrifice. Krishna led Arjuna to that place, and then he amassed a large amount of gold to bring it back so they could finance the Rajasuya sacrifice. But it's another incident where Lord Ramachandra wanted to remunerate the Brahmins so nicely that he gave them so much. But the Brahmins said, actually, my dear Lord, because everything belongs to you anyway. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we offer everything you've given to us back to you because it's actually your possessions. So the Brahmins were not miserlies. They were not working hard to get things. They simply did their service, and everything by Krishna's arrangement was provided. And you see that too, that in our Krishna consciousness society, you don't have to make big plans to get money or to live in this world. All you have to do is serve the Lord, and the Lord will provide everything through his different energies for you to live nicely and even comfortably. So a devotee doesn't make plans for big economic developments. In fact, they're always thinking how to use whatever they get in the service of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. That was thank you for this wonderful topic. It has got very subtle nuances. And you mentioned how this is not ideal, and but still there is etiquettes to be followed in doing so. So dear devotees, I would appreciate if you can switch on your cameras. Let's make this session more interactive, more lively, more personal. And please share your comments, realizations, and questions on the subject matter, please.
Yeah, if you don't see me, that doesn't mean I'm not here. When you go ahead and ask your questions and I'll respond.
Thank you, Maharaj. And also you can put your questions in the chat window. I'm more happy to read it out for you as well. So Maharaj, I have a question. As the devotees contemplate, is praising the devotees. You mentioned, you touched upon it. Can you help us or help me understand where and how glorifications of the devotees should be done? What is the right etiquette to praise the devotees?
Be a little bit more specific in your question. That's done in a general sense. Many times when there are many meetings with large amounts of devotees, we take an opportunity to glorify certain personalities in that association. But it's not like it's structured. It can happen anytime. Like I was sitting with some devotees last night, and I was remembering some of their good qualities, and I was mentioning them. So that just, it comes up just naturally sometimes. But in an assembly of devotees, usually we take time to speak the good qualities, the glories, the deeds of certain devotees who are present.
And Maharaj, how to take these glorifications and praises on a one-to-one level?
You mean the recipient?
No, when devotees praises us, right? How shall we take them? Because we obviously try to offer it to Prabhupada, but
Yeah, there's a couple ways. One is that the devotee thinks that person is seeing many good qualities in me, but actually that's their good qualities. Somehow they can see good qualities in me. That is their good quality. Or a devotee thinks, well, he says, oh, he accepts the glorification, and in his mind, within his heart, he passes it on to his spiritual master. That's the standard how we understand it, that whatever I can do, whatever qualities I would attain, is simply by the mercy of Krishna coming through my spiritual master. And that way, one will be free from this false pride, which comes by taking credit for the activities we perform. And actually, it's Krishna who works through the devotee by inspiring devotee, by giving intelligence, by giving knowledge, by giving remembrance, by giving abilities. And then the devotee knows that, oh, I have been successful in pleasing the devotees and worshiping the Lord, but it's all by the grace of my spiritual master. It's all by the grace of the assembly of devotees. And this is not something false. We don't have to artificially think like this. It's actually the reality. To take credit is the false aspect of everything.
thank you, Maharaj. And I think this is something, yes, I personally have to be constantly reminded of when being spoken of or praised. So thank you, Maharaj. Raj Prabhu, you have a question? Please go ahead and ask.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. We need to, or we should glorify the Lord. And we hear so many beautiful prayers in the Bhagavatam about how great devotees glorify the Lord so wonderfully. But personally, I find it difficult to glorify the Lord in the same way, because unless we have the realizations, it's difficult to glorify the Lord with sincerity. So what should we do, Maharaj?
Do it anyway.
Okay.
If you do it, you'll start feeling like it.
Okay, thank you very much, Maharaj.
It is all glorifiable. You don't have, that's not something you have to be inspired to do. Just do it. When you do it, you'll get inspired to do it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It works.
I shall definitely do that now, Maharaj. Thank you.
Whether you feel like or don't feel like it, do it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Devotees, any other questions, comments, realizations?
I'm still here. Don't
Please-
worry.
Yes, Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead. You have a question.
Thank you, Vinandoranga Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances, dear Guru Maharaj, on glories to Srila Prabhupada. On this point of glorifying Vaishnavas, Guru Maharaj, I was wondering that even if we are very sincerely appreciating something either a devotee has done or their good qualities, sometimes the devotees become very, very shy and uncomfortable. They are, visibly agitated, and they say, don't talk like this. Why you are praising me unnecessarily? Or they actually sometimes even get a little angry and upset. So how should we react when the devotee is not accepting the glorification or rejecting it even, or is getting upset or agitated when we are glorifying them?
Just stop it. It's actually, I was reading yesterday, it's one of the symptoms of a very advanced devotee. He becomes unhappy when he hears people glorifying him. It's a symptom of a very high stage of bhakti. But those characteristics can happen on any level. Because one who is in knowledge, there's different reasons why a person may be averse to it. One of them is that they think it's unnecessary. Another person will think, oh boy, now I might become proud. So they become a little bit adverse to hearing things like that.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
But if you can see someone is being unhappy about it, then don't stop it.
Maharaj, I had a question in the sense that it was very relevant because since the past few weeks, I'm meeting one devotee every time at lunch on the breakfast program over the weekend. And every time he sees me, he's bringing other devotees or other outsiders, and he starts glorifying me. And he just keeps on going on. And I said, Prabhu, that's okay. Thank you very much. You've been modest. And then he keeps on doing this every time I see him. And on other occasions on the same day as well. So he was repeatedly doing that. And I said, Prabhu, I know you want to glorify me. So next time I'm going to start glorifying you as well, as much as you're doing to me. Because I was feeling so much uncomfortable because he was repeatedly doing it. And he's a good friend of mine as well. So it's not something that, he doesn't know me. So I felt very uncomfortable that when he kept on doing that. I wasn't sure whether he was doing it on purpose or genuinely meant it, or what he was just doing it because there was somebody else that there as well. So
Yeah, you're glorifiable.
no.
You have a wonderful family, 2 nice children. You study the Bhagavatam. You work hard in devotional service. There's so many good qualities you have. And that's only a few. If I really think harder, I can come up with more.
No, Maharaj. Please. I've decided with this devotee that when I told him that next time I see you, I will have a full list for you as well.
So you remember when the first time I met you, I criticized your driving, right?
Yes.
So, but then after a while you changed, and I thought, oh, okay. Yeah, we just have to just pray to Krishna when it happens.
And also, Maharaj, to your point that you were making, that what we were reading in the purport today is an ideal Brahminical culture, but at least I know of few Brahmanas who come from the Smarta Brahmana line, and they have to adopt alternate occupation to sustain their family. So they're genuine. Some of them are genuine astrologers. They're so genuine that they would not demand money as others do. They are not professional in the sense that the others are, and they have to resort to other alternative occupation which are not Brahminical. But when I speak to them, they say, "What can we do?" Either you have to engage into. I mean, very sad to see these things.
Sad to see them engage in other activities.
Other activities, yes, other than genuine, either Brahminical duties, not from a Vaishnava Brahmana, but just the smarter Brahmanas as well.
Everything is topsy-turvy in today's society. Even if a person is born in a Brahmin family, they have to exhibit the Brahmin qualities, and they have to engage in Brahminical activities before they're actually designated as a Brahmin. If they're born in a Brahmin family and they do activities that are outside of Brahminical standard, then they're classified accordingly. Narada Muni explains that. By work and by characteristics, a person is known. So people will accept, material situations over, they'll subliminate their good qualities in order for some material gain. But that will never make a person happy. Only when you work according to your nature and you use that work to serve the Lord will you become truly happy and enthusiastic in your activities. Everyone has to perform some service. You're not serving Krishna, you're serving Maya. Maya may give you some material benefits. Krishna will give you purified consciousness.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hari.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody's questions about being praised or want to praise and have some questions?
Well, you can start praising the devotees and see what kind of reaction you get.
Anahita has a question.
Yes, please go ahead and ask.
Hi, Rose. Sorry, my camera wasn't working. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We
Hare-
can.
Oh, Hare Krishna Gurmaj. Sorry, I had a question that I've been meaning to ask for a while now, but I've been going through a tough experience with a very close person, and they're a devotee, and it's quite a specific question. And I want to kind of ask your advice on how to stay strong and humble when you're feeling really hurt and upset. And I just find that my emotions, I really struggle to control them because
What happened?
I think we lost her. She'll hopefully reconnect, Maharaj.
Your internet might have.
Sridevi Mataji, you have a question? Please go ahead while
Yeah, but
Mataji reconnects.
Anahita to come back. I just thought I'll ask a question. Guru Maharaj, you said in the course of today's class, all you have to do is serve the Lord, and the Lord will provide everything for a devotee to live nicely. The devotee doesn't make plans to get, big money, etc. Instead, he looks for ways to serve. So how can we develop this faith that Krishna is there and Krishna will take care, and we don't have to, make big plans for our own, retirement and things like that? Because on the one hand, people will say, how come devotees are so, even foolish? They call us foolish. And they say, you all don't think of retirement, you all don't make any plans for medical emergencies, you all don't have life insurance, health insurance. How you all just post along like this? At least many of my relatives tell me like this. So how we can just say, I have faith, Krishna is there and he will take care. If we say like this, because we do have faith and we have seen in our own life experience, we have seen that Krishna does take care. Do we come across as naive and foolish people?
Yeah. Bhaktivinoda Thakur deals with that. It's called a little prayasa. Just like if you want to distribute books, you may have to have some books to distribute. So you might have to go out and purchase some books so you can distribute it. So you make an effort to do what you need to do. But that effort is just an element that makes something work. But in general, the devotee just depends on Krishna. And on Krishna's mercy comes through the devotee. But if the devotee is not really serving the Lord, then to depend on Krishna for everything means things will fall through. When you are fully engaged in devotional service, you should know there's no lack anywhere. Automatically. I mean, I could use myself as an example. I don't have any job. I don't have any place. Nothing. I mean, I have a little apartment that I keep all my stuff in, but I'm there like a few weeks a year, that's all, just to check in. But everywhere I go, everything's provided by Krishna through his energies. So it doesn't mean just because one is in the renounced order, it's going to work. It works for everybody. Krishna says, just depend on me. To work in such a way as that you are dependent on Krishna for everything. Those who don't depend on Krishna, who are engaged in devotional service to some degree, they're always making big plans for their future, for their present, for this and that. I mean, for Bhaktivinoda Thakur does say for grihastas who have families, they have to provide, they have to keep some savings. Rupa Goswami showed the example. He used 25% for personal expenses and 25% for savings. So a devotee will save some money, especially the grihastas. They have to do that for family emergencies or whatever. That's not outside of the principle. That's within the principle. But generally for brahmacharis and sannyasis, they don't have to do that. Just for grihastas, they have to make a little effort to secure some kind of maybe pecuniary foundation in case there's some emergencies with the family or something comes up. Well, you're a sannyasini, right? Something like a sannyasini. So what do you have to, what kind of arrangements do you have to make?
I don't have to make, really, Guru Maharaj. Your mercy is so wonderful. I don't have to make. In fact, if I try to make an arrangement, I'll probably bungle it. So better if I just keep quiet.
Yeah, usually we waste time doing all of these things which really they're not necessary anyway. I mean, somebody wanted to give me medical health insurance, and when I was like thinking, all right, let's do it. And then when I applied for it, nothing worked. I gave it up. And then somebody started a health plan for me and gave me the plan, and I had to renew it every so many months. And then I thought, this is a waste of money. I stopped that one, threw that one away. So yeah, depend on Krishna. And I mean, now there's one very, very senior devotee in our society. He's a doctor, and he started the BMA, Bhaktivedanta Medical Association. It's been going for about a year and a half now. And he's organized doctors all around the world to plug into this system where any devotee anywhere in the world can, with any kind of problem, can plug into one of these doctors or maybe a couple and get free medical care. These doctors have dedicated their talents in Krishna conscious. They're devotees. They're all devotees. Right now, we have at least 170 doctors who have plugged into that. So if you ever have any medical problems, you just go online, Bhaktivedanta Medical Association, follow it up and see what's available. And if you're not sure about where to go, his devotee who's in charge of it, his name is Sundarananda. He's in London. He started the whole project. And it seems to be going good. You don't have to pay large amounts of money for healthcare. Of course, if you're in the UK, they automatically give you healthcare there. But if you're in the United States, they don't. Different countries have different programs. But ultimately, we have to depend on Krishna. But if you want to take out some health insurance policies, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. But I'm saying that devotees depend on Krishna for everything.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. I'm just going to read the question from Anahita Mataji. How do we know if we are born into families for reasons? And what if that environment of family doesn't help us grow? Is it okay to love from a distance? Or are there reasons and lessons we need to go through and stay within that environment?
That's up to you. You have to decide. You have to see if you can contribute to that environment and make it better. Or if you can't, then better to find the environment where you can grow. Why stay in an environment that pushes you down? It's foolish. If you can help it, improve it, then make that effort. But if you've tried and you see there's no, then you have to move on. Life is short. Don't waste time trying to do something that you can't do. Who's our real family anyway? It's the devotees. Our blood family, that's come by our karma, that's all. And if you take birth again, you get another family, different mother, different father, different set of circumstances. Every life we get a mother, a father, brothers, sisters, so many things. Mind there's some element of attachment that comes by in that environment. But when it becomes counterproductive, and there's no way you can improve the situation after trying to, then why waste time? You belong to Krishna. That's who you really belong to.
Anahita Mataji, do you want to ask any? Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and association. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, I think we should move on here. It's a little bit way past the hour. So yeah, okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully.
Thank you, Maharaj. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta bhakta vrinda ki jai. His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.